Hi guys, welcome to the Fight Edge channel. Alexander Krasyuk, the promoter of the WBA, WBO and IBF heavyweight title holder Alexander Usyk, say that his ward still has not agreed on a rematch with Anthony Joshua. The boxers still do not know where and when they will hold a rematch, which should take place in April. According to Krasyuk, in the near future there should be specifics about the next match of Usyk. A lot of things are happening at the moment. We will reveal everything soon. The fight with Joshua is the main option for us, Alexander Krasyuk told Sky Sports. Early Joshua hinted that he was ready to give up an immediate rematch with Usyk for generous compensation. The Ukrainian boxer said that he wants to fight WBC champion Tyson Fury in the next fight. However, the team of the Gypsy King apparently is not particularly eager to arrange this mega fight and is trying to organize Fury's return to the ring in March. WBO World Heavyweight Champion Lawrence Okolie believes that Anthony Joshua should hire his coach Shane McGuigan ahead of the rematch with WBA. WBO and IBF heavyweight title holder Alexander Usyk. Would I recommend that Joshua McGuigan? Yes, I would. We haven't talked about it, but I would give this advice. I think stylistically it makes a lot of sense. Joshua and I worked together in Dubai, trained together for a while. We sparred a lot there without blows to the head. He is constantly trying to learn. Joshua has a great attitude. He looks powerful and is eager to fight. That's all that matters, Lawrence Okolie told the portal Metro. Early Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn told when the name of AJ's new coach will be announced. It is expected that Joshua's rematch with Usyk will take place in April this year. Friends, before starting to watch this video, I would like to ask you to subscribe to my channel. If you really enjoy the content, then please subscribe to my channel and keep watching the videos. If you are subscribed, then you receive notifications about the release of new videos. You do not even have to look for anything personally. I really want to get 10,000 subscribers on my channel. I am trying very hard, absolutely every day, and I need your support. Your likes, comments, reposts to social networks. Thanks to everyone who subscribes to my channel. You are my support. Thank you so much. Usyk vs Fury is probably the main sporting event of the year. We hope that they will fight. In professional boxing, there is a prolonged calm at the start of the year. The first big fight is confirmed only for the beginning of March, and even that between boxers from the second lightest weight, which cannot arouse interest on both sides of the Atlantic. Canelo is playing golf, Jake Paul is counting his millions of dollars, and Terence Crawford is suing promoter Bob Arum. So it turns out that the main troublemaker right now in boxing is Tyson Fury, who calls Alexander Usyk or Francis Ngannou to fight. But it is the fight against Usyk that claims to be the main event of the year, not only in boxing, but also in sports in general. Two undefeated heavyweights, two charismatic champions, a real intrigue. This fight has everything to be watched not only by fans, but also by those who are not interested in martial arts at all. But the most important thing is the story of the battle of the good guy against the bad. Such a show is always bold, and now is the perfect time to organize it. Joshua is extremely dangerous to fight with Usyk right now. This is another case with Andy Ruiz. A defeat can put an end to his career. The most obvious reason that opens the door for the organization of a rematch, in addition to the desire of Fury, Usyk and their promoters. Anthony, after a frankly devastating defeat in September, announced right at the press conference that he intended to get a rematch here and now, as was the case with the confrontation against Andy Ruiz. But comparing Alexander Usyk and Andy Ruiz is simply incorrect. It was obvious that Ruiz really jumped over his head in the summer of 2019, and Joshua simply better as a boxer, which Anthony demonstrated in the rematch. Here everything is the opposite. AJ tries to box with a Ukrainian and was beaten on all counts. It is clear that in a more aggressive manner, the chances of success for the Briton will be much greater. But this does not negate the obvious. Anthony's entire career is at stake, which means enormous pressure. Joshua's psychology is clearly not as impressive as his musculus. Everyone understands this, and most of all his promoter Eddie Hearn. He is very interested in the option of giving Usyk the opportunity to fight Fury for compensation. I'm going to talk to Joshua about it, but there is a problem. Dillian Whyte intends to appeal the WBC ruling to the arbitration court, and this is extra time. This complicates the whole procedure, and it was already difficult to agree on compensation for both Anthony and Dillian, to prescribe all the necessary points in the contract to satisfy all four parties. Imagine how difficult and long it is. But there is a point that Hearn does not mention. He is Whyte's promoter, which means he has the power to influence Dillian. Plus, Joshua has big problems in the corner. He decided to part with the coach he worked with since he was an amateur, Rob McCracken, and he never approved a new one in the face of Anthony Wilson, little known in the boxing circle, at least publicly. In general, the most successful option for Joshua will be to get a solid compensation, find chemistry with a new coach, completely change the approach to the training process, hold 1 or 2 fights with the tops. There are many options: Wilder, Joyce, Chisora, Ortiz, a rematch with Whyte. This is just what immediately comes to mind. Such a choice is definitely better than going out on Usyk in such a state. Defeat, even more painful, will put an end to his career. But Joshua is a big money back not only for Eddie Hearn. AJ is much better off waiting for the winner of the Usyk-Fury fight. If Fury wins, it will be the biggest fight in the history of Great Britain. If Alexander wins, a rematch can be sold in a completely different way. And if Joshua loses to a Ukrainian, then he won't even have to dream about such options. He understands this better than anyone. So he also publicly confirmed the possibility of giving Usyk the opportunity to fight Fury. They have already crossed paths with Alexander in Dubai, as part of one of the boxing forums. If the money is right, we will have to consider the offer, but respect is much more valuable to me than money. So respect comes first, then my reputation after leaving the heavyweight. Now is the ideal situation for Joshua to take care of the latter. Fury mentions Usyk in almost every interview and accuses Alexander of doping. Even Vladimir Klitschko joined the promotion of the fight. Both Alexander Usyk and the Gypsy King have been talking about the first ever heavyweight bout for all belts for months. Tyson, by the way, promotes this fight even more actively than the trilogy with Deontay Wilder, mentioning the Ukrainian in almost every interview and post on social networks. In one of them, the Briton decided to increase the information degree, accusing Usyk of taking banned substances. Joshua allowed me to return all the belts to Ukraine after the hard work I did to free them. Joshua, you big useless bum, you let a little steroid guy who got up from middleweight take all the belts from you. It will take a real British bomber like me to rectify the situation and bring the titles back to the United Kingdom, Fury said. The statement of the Briton was so surprising because Usyk had never been caught doping. That's another legend of the ring. Vladimir Klitschko stood up in defense of his compatriot. Tyson, you live in a glass house, and someone has to take your stones. It wasn't long before our fight, when you really had a positive result. Anyone can Google it. Control yourself, Klitschko said. People in glass houses should not throw stones. This is a British aphorism. Fury vs Usyk is not just the most anticipated confrontation of the year, not just a historical duel. Both boxers are charismatic personalities who do not climb into their pockets for reward. equally skilled boxers. There is maximum intrigue in this fight. Plus, this fight is served as a confrontation between a bad and a good guy. Such a duel is not only a dream for fans, but also for promoters. In terms of profit and pay-per-view, it is quite realistic that he can surpass the fight of Conor and Khabib Nurmagomedov. In the interview, Usyk's promoter Alexander Krasyuk said that the head of Top Rank Bob Arum is not at all against organizing such a big fight in Kiev at the Olympic Sports Complex. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel.